Can everyone hear me? Yeah? Good? I see nodding heads. Good. Okay, so getting physical with web Bluetooth in the browser. I kind of lied a little bit when I wrote this title, because it's not just about web Bluetooth, but we'll get there. So I'm Dan Jenkins, Dan_Jenkins on Twitter, and some other businessy information that you probably don't care about. So getting physical. No one? Okay. So have you ever wished you could go to an object in real life and you could go and click on it like we do in the web? We can go find out more information about it. We can interact with it. As web developers, we probably always want this. And I mean, we've got ways of doing that today. Yeah. So these photos are from a recent trip to San Francisco, where they were everywhere. So yeah, top one is Hard Rock, second one is Alcatraz. There's some more. This was the Exploratorium. Anyway, so things have QR codes on them. And these QR codes are designed so that you can kind of get your phone out and you can scan it and it will take you to a website and you can get some more information. Like, this is what we're talking about, isn't it? Well, we all know QR codes aren't very secure and like they're a big pain in the rear. Generally, you have to have an app, and you generally don't have that app, so you go and download an app, and then you never use that app again. I mean, I'm going to caveat all of this with there is now a progressive web app for QR codes. So QR code scan.in, go use it. I mean, after this, you probably won't need to. Anyway, so we want to interact with things around us. So we've got bus stops, etc., and like we've got schedules for buses, and we want to know, well, I'm at this bus stop and it serves this particular route and it has these particular times. Like, I want to be able to just go find this information without kind of Googling, etc. So movie posters, there's so many different things. So what do we call, we can do all of this and without QR codes, and it's called the physical web. Physical web is a new initiative to be able to bridge the physical world and the web together. Today, we could have a beacon on a BB-8, and you could go and interact with that BB-8. You could put a beacon on a poster. So that's a poster for my old business, the business that I used to work for. So instead of like seeing that URL at the bottom, instead of like having to type that all in, like we can get that and interact with it. Like, I can just pull down a notification on my phone and I can tap it. So hotels are actually starting to use them. And my wife took me to Twilight movie poster. So instead of going to Cineworld's app or whatever, or whatever cinema you go to, you could just kind of tap on something and it would just work. So how does the physical web work? The physical web works with a beacon, like this. So that's a beacon, that's a Bluetooth beacon. And it broadcasts a Eddystone URL over Bluetooth. Chrome on my Android phone or iOS picks up that URL, does some stuff with it, I'll talk about that, and then it gets presented as a notification. And you can pull down that notification and it says, physical devices are near me. And I can tap on it and I can go and interact with that physical thing. So a little bit more information about Eddystone. So Eddystone is an open message format. There's a couple different parts to Eddystone. I think there's like 4 or 5, but the one that we care about here is Eddystone URL. Eddystone URLs only allow you to transmit 18 bytes worth of data. And that's because it's all BLE, it's Bluetooth Low Energy. And there's about 30 different vendors that are supporting Eddystone URL. And big thing for me is Eddystone is compatible with iBeacon. Like we don't want to segregate things, etc. So iBeacon and Eddystone are completely compatible with one another. So this is just kind of part of how we do things. If you're interested in like beacons and things like that, there's a URL. All these slides are actually kind of in the room right now. I'll leave that with you. So the second part to the picture is Chrome. So we've got Chrome on our Android device. Chrome picks up on that beacon, and Chrome's always kind of scanning. If you enable it, it's always scanning, and it finds those URLs. By default, well, not by default, it does only support HTTPS URLs. So Chrome will only care about, like, if you broadcast an HTTP URL, then Chrome will just ignore it. Chrome then sends all those URLs up to Google. I mean, this sounds bad. Kind of is. I'm not a huge fan of it. But Google has a proxy service. And so Chrome sends up those URLs and it does some magic. So it removes duplicate URLs, it removes some spam, does some protection. Other browsers, Opera is kind of working on this at the moment, and Opera will have its own proxy service. So it's not like Google own everything. Yeah, so the proxy service then sends those URLs back to Chrome after like collecting some information about them, and then Chrome shows a notification. So, I mean, if you've got Android today with Chrome, like it's in the most stable version of Chrome, you should be able to see a notification on your phone right now, because I'm broadcasting about 5 different URLs. So, we've got the proxy service. Like, I mean, this is kind of why I don't really enjoy the proxy service. None of this works unless you've got data. I mean, the internet, I keep noticing the internet keeps going up and down here. And so, yeah, your URLs might not be showing up on your phone because you need the internet to go up to the proxy service and then come back down. But yeah, we can interact with physical devices. We can say, oh, we've got a train, or we've got a parking meter. Loads of parking meters now have websites you can go and pay. So again, why do I need to start typing things in? Like, that parking meter knows what parking meter it is, and I don't need to select from a drop-down because like, it's right in front of me. So when you add progressive web apps together, which we've already heard about today, the reason for building native apps kind of dwindles. So you can now start accessing Bluetooth in the browser. You can start doing all of this magical stuff. And your progressive web app kind of starts behaving like a native app. So I love the web, and there are less and less reasons to start writing native code. And yeah, they're being used today. So, I mean, yeah, I've got 5 in the room with me right now. My phone is actually acting like a beacon as well. There's an app to do that, as well as these 3 here. And there's another one in my bag. Anyway, yeah, loads of beacons. But it's being used in production for real-life scenarios today. So about a month ago, beacons were put on about 100 London buses, and they're broadcasting URLs that are specific to that bus right now, as we speak. And so you see we've got a notification saying we've got 2 physical web links nearby. Proxama are the company that made the system. And then there's a URL for the bus itself. And then we can go to the bus. We're on the bus and we want to know what route we're on, etc. And it can actually tell you like when you get to another stop, etc. with notifications. So it's being used in London today, which means we can start using it and making some awesome things. 2 weeks ago I was at Google I/O. They had beacons in every single area. And so you went into a talk and you'd get a notification to say, you're in this talk. Do you want to see the schedule? Do you want to see like the bio about the person that's speaking? Like, it was really, really personal. It was really great. So yeah, there are beacons here today, we can use them. But there's more. And we get onto the thing that I really wanted to talk about. But the two don't make sense, the two make sense better together. So we've got Web Bluetooth. Web Bluetooth is a new API, and it allows your browser to connect to devices directly. So my phone can connect to a BB-8 drone, BB-8 thing. What do you call this? BB-8 toy. So using JavaScript, we can now interact with devices. And so if this was emitting a beacon URL, a Eddystone URL, I could click on that URL and it would take me to a website that could then interact with the device over Web Bluetooth. That's pretty cool. So this, you'll get there. So this is actually me controlling my BB-8 using web audio. You can't hear the sound, but it's the Imperial March. And so on every note change within the Imperial March, it changes color and it changes direction. And this is using a Chromebook. I mean, that's kind of half neat. It kind of shows what's now possible with the browser. But yeah, it's not just toys. I mean, we all love toys, but it's not just toys. So this is showing a heart rate monitor. So there's a load of standard services within Bluetooth Low Energy, and one of them is heart rate. And so you can kind of connect to that service and you can get a heart rate. And so imagine not having to download an app anymore for a specific heart rate thing. You can just go to the one progressive web app and it would just work for every single heart rate monitor that there is on the market because they're all following the standard. Not just toys, so there's a printer. These are all from the Chrome team members that I know. They've been buying stuff and making cool apps. I mean, there are quite a few toys. This is a racing game. How you can race cars with Bluetooth in the browser, anyway. So, I mean, I've been talking about Bluetooth Low Energy, but I mean, if I ask in the room how many people actually know what Bluetooth Low Energy is, there's very, very probably few hands probably going, yeah, exactly. So let's take a step back and look at what Bluetooth Low Energy is. So it's very, very low bandwidth. So Bluetooth version 3 allowed you to send 54 megabits per second. And Bluetooth version 4 allows you to send 0.3 megabits per second. And this is because it's low energy. And that's kind of the whole point of BLE. There is a set of standard services, so heart rate monitors. There's so many more that I can't even remember any right now. The number of steps on your fitness device. I'm trying hard not to promote a certain company. So there are a load of services out there, and they're standard. And so yeah, you can absolutely write one website that interacts with every single different vendor that's out there, as long as they're following that standard service. But you can also write your own services, and this is where it gets kind of really interesting from a development point of view. So this is within BLE, within a device. So let's take my Parrot drone. This is a BLE device. Within this, there's something called a GATT server. And so within that GATT server, you have services. So one service would be your battery service to tell you how much juice is in my battery. But you can also write custom characteristics, custom services, sorry. And so you can say a custom service would be like up, down, etc. Like the actual control over the device. And then each one of those services has characteristics. And you can read characteristics and you can write to characteristics. So reading a characteristic would be the battery. Like I can't change the battery at all. I can't change the value of the battery, but I can change how far it goes up, what speed it's going forward, etc. So the Web Bluetooth API is actually really, really, really simple. So we can take a look at it here. We've got services, so we've got request device, navigator.bluetooth.request device, and we pass in some options to it. In this case, it's a heart rate service. So this would pick up any device that knows about heart rates. And this would end up bringing down a drop-down to say, which device do I want to select? That drop-down would only show ones that have heart rate services within them. You can connect to it. So this is promise-based as well. So it's really, really simple. So you connect to it, you go get a primary service from it. Using that primary service, you can go get a characteristic, in this case, heart rate measurement. And then once you've got that characteristic, you can say, well, every single time that characteristic changes, I want to know about it. So in this case, the characteristic changes and it runs a function called beep, which then logs out the value of that function of that characteristic. So if my heart rate goes up and down, it will automatically tell the browser that it's changed. So today, there's no way to bypass that device selection, that drop-down that comes down. So this device emits a URL, and there's no way to kind of say, well, I came from this device, so can't I just automatically connect to that device? But that's coming. That's coming really, really soon. So soon you'll be able to say, if we've got a navigator.bluetooth.referring device, then we can just say, well, go connect to that referring device. And that kind of opens the door for some really cool stuff too. So as web developers, we want to play with stuff today. Where can we go play with it? In short, Android M plus N, I've just been told, Chrome OS and Linux. How many of us develop on Macs? Most of the room puts up their hand. So if you want some more information, you can go here. And you'll see Chrome OS has everything, Android M has pretty much everything. Mac OS has some, Linux has everything, and Windows barely has anything. So this is my big gotcha. If you want to go play with stuff today, you will get a certain distance into your development on a Mac, and then things will just not work, and you'll be like, why? I've done this, and that's why I went out and bought a Chromebook. Because I had to. So you have to have the right device, and then you have to enable it in Chrome. And then it only works on localhost or HTTPS, what the Chrome team call a secure context. So yeah, there are quite a few hoops to go through. But there's a load of demos out there, and there's a load of cool stuff out there that you can start developing with today. So today you can go and make your own peripherals. So I went to Signal Conf, Twilio's Conf last week, and I got a hack pack. So that's an Arduino. I've got a Tessel here, and Tessel has a module for BLE. The microbit that you can now pre-order, and you get delivered in July, has BLE built into it. So you can start kind of making some cool things and developing them today. But yeah, it's not easy. If you have, so yeah, it's not easy. If you have the right devices, then it's absolutely great. If you have an iPhone that you want to do some stuff on, then boo. If you have a Mac and no Android device, again, boo. But Android phones are really cheap, and Chromebooks are actually pretty cheap now. So if you really want to go do something, then you can go do something. So I'm going to try a demo, but this didn't really go to plan. So last night I was up until 1:30 trying to get my hack pack to work. So it's an Arduino, and it has a OLED screen on it. And it has BLE. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll just leave that running here. And whenever someone connects to it in the audience, the screen will change, and it will be really cool. And well, I found out at 1:30 last night that the screen is dead. So yeah, that didn't work. And then I thought, oh, I've got a microbit, which are really, really cool. Go buy one. But that didn't work either. There's some configurational issue that I need to talk to my friends about, where I have to pair to the device before you can do anything with it, and that's pretty crap from an audience point of view. Like, hold on 1 second, I just got to pair. That's not the point of BLE. So that went out the window as well. And then I thought, oh, I've got a BB-8. Like, this is cool. So let's try and do it with a BB-8. Actually, I'm running out of time. So I'm going to put this on the floor, and hopefully someone with an Android phone who picks up the beacon should be able to see this working. If I leave it on the floor, I'm going to leave that there, and if you're really interested, you can come see me in the discussion track, because I'm just running out of time. So yeah, physical web and web Bluetooth. The two things really, really work well together, and that's why I really wanted to talk about both of them. So some of the beacons, so this one here, now run a GATT server inside them. They don't just broadcast a URL, they actually run a GATT server as well. It's called the Eddystone URL configuration service. And we get into this nice kind of circular motion where this device broadcasts a URL to be able to change the URL on the device using web Bluetooth. That's pretty neat. So yeah, this device broadcasts cf.physicalweb.org, which then takes you to a website. You can then change the URL. You can connect to the device using web Bluetooth, change the URL, and then, hey presto, it's this really nice circle. So my last message is, like, build things with the web. It's really been great today seeing all these talks about the web and like how it's awesome, and I can't stop saying it's awesome. Like, we're bridging the gap to native. There's less and less of a reason to build native apps now. We can start connecting to Bluetooth devices using the browser. Like, there's web audio now. There's soon to be web USB and web NFC, where you can connect to USB devices and NFC devices, all within the browser. The browser is pretty powerful. If you're really, really interested in web Bluetooth and the physical web, there's 3 great talks from Google I/O, and so that was only 2 weeks ago. This URL is to a playlist that will give you all 3 URLs. And thank you very much. Yeah, come see the demo. Come see me at the discussion track, and you'll see BB-8 rolling across the floor. Thank you very much.